Hi everyone, I'm Airier, and today we're checking out more of Super Eyepatch Wolf's The Bizarre World of Fake Video Games, which last time around included showing some of the incredible work he's already done on his own fake video game, which looked freaking amazing, and really wish it wasn't the fake part. You guys know the deal. Link below, video, hit it up. Let's get started.
Fake video games exist because they let us ask what if. And so, in the case of Persona 5 Imagining Project, it was someone asking the question, what if a darker Persona sequel existed that tied back to the series' roots of Shin Megami Tensei? That is the basic appeal of fake video games. And as you may be able to tell from the runtime of this video, there is a more complicated appeal that we will get to. But
I wonder if someone actually made full-on video games, not just the mixed media showing what would be a fake game, but actual games made about a fake source material.
For now, I want to move on to that second question. What is it about fake?
I wonder if he's going to mention some of the SCP games that were games made that are real, but about a source that is very much just fan-made, because that's what the SCP universe is entirely. That would be an interesting way to look at it.
Video games like Imagining Project and Dreambound that our brain looks at them and doesn't see animation or illustration, but video game. Here's an illustration from the artist Arkai2, and it's also a powerful rendering of a dramatic moment from Pokemon Ruby. However, I have removed one small detail of it, and watch what happens when we add it back in. Personally, when I look at this,
okay, this just looks like a really cool screen. But just getting that, if Pokemon games look like this, just still the cell shade, not even cell shade, but like the bit texture. Oh shit, man. I haven't wanted to play a Pokemon game in a while because I literally no-lifed Red for so many hours. I literally out-Pokemoned myself. But damn, I wish they would do this style.
I see a cool illustration.
Yeah, it is.
When I look at this, I see something else. I see something that asks, what would you do in this scenario? Would
die?
You fight? Would you switch Pokemon?
Just
would you
die?
Run? And when presented with these options, my mind can't help consider the scenarios that each might lead to, and by
hell, this is basically if Arceus was turn-based instead. And honestly, this is within Nintendo's grasp when it comes to animation. Is what I would like to say. Then I remember some of the games they released after Arceus, which might not qualify as being this good. So
extension asking, what is the wider world that contains this moment, and what other moments within this world might look like? And I think what's actually happening here is really interesting. When we see a screenshot of a video game, one of the primary ways we recognize it as a video game are HUD elements like health bars, weapon selects, and point or XP counters. Visual elements designed to convey specific information to the player that helps them decide how to engage with this world. And if you've been playing video games for any length of time, it's visual signifiers like this that your brain has become hardwired to interpret as video game. And
oh my god, he's describing a Pavlovian reaction. We are literally trained to associate the bell with food, or in this case, gaming UI options on the screen with, ooh, make a choice, see what's going to happen. So if we took all this out, it would be a cool image of a knight versus a really big knight with an oversized glaive. But as soon as you add it in, it's boss music time. Or at least in this, it's just a standard big knight with a big glaive who you're going to eviscerate. As long as you know what they're about to do. Is this Dark Souls 2 or 1? No, it might be 3. Yeah, I think it might be 3.
And if we remove those visual elements, that feeling that this is a video game is lessened, making it feel more like a traditional image. But if we inverse this and add those same visual elements to a traditional image, it raises
it literally does change
feeling,
everything. And it's still art, but
into interpreting this as a video game. And that's why it's so hard to look at something like Dreambound and not, at least on some nearly
think you're watching a live stream of it
see
or a
video
let's play.
Game. That's the idea of mechanical context, incorporating visual elements of video games into a traditional illustration or
oh my god, this is so freaking beautiful. Like, even without the UI elements making me think it's a game, if this was like someone who had the static PS1 era graphics where you're just moving through a painted scene and this is what it looked like, I'm actually craving like a style of gameplay now. Huh. But god damn. Even without it, this is beautiful. I legitimately would just like to get this as a mouse pad right here. It's roughly the right size. I need to find out who this artist is.
Animation to create the illusion of a fake video game. So the question now becomes, how much does mechanical context actually change how we view a piece of media?
Oh yeah.
And to answer that question,
a lot.
I have quite an unusual example.
Really?
Spent long enough on TikTok in late 2020.
Oh god, we're going to TikTok. I might be a little biased here, but if you're bringing up TikTok, it means it's going to be one of two things. Either it's going to be really cute or it's going to be really fucked up, because I've never seen a middle ground on that, except for the humor channels, but that's basically just Vine in a different location.
And at some point, you may encounter a video in which the viewer from a first-person perspective is approached by an unusual wide-eyed girl.
Excuse me, sir? My husband's missing and I really need him.
Molly Moon 2. She hasn't blinked in any of these images. 1, good for her. 2, it's incredibly creepy, especially with the veil and the bride. She's doing NPCs, isn't she? This is creepy. This is incredibly creepy. Although, good job on them shooting with the white veil, the dead blank eyes, and the red tree right behind them with just the right saturation to think it's a dying version, so it's probably fall. But still, creepy composition. And I'm just distracting myself from how creepy this is actually making me freaked out.
Do you think you could help me find him? Thanks.
This is Molly Moon, and the majority of her videos go like this. Molly approaching the viewer with an
Excuse me, sir? Excuse me, sir? Excuse me, sir?
And the worst part is, there's probably some guys who are like, yeah, I like this. And I'm just sitting here going like, no, this looks like the beginning to a horror game. That's probably intentional too. It's like something between a horror game and also an NPC and an RPG. Just the soulless nature of the NPCs made terrifying when done in real life, which is the horror aspect.
Then asking them to follow her to a second location,
which,
all the while her unblinking gaze, monotone speech, and strange mannerisms implying that she is something pretending to be human. However, on November 2022, these videos changed.
What?
Excuse me, sir? Can you walk me home?
You know, I thought the not blinking part was creepy, and now it's worse. She knows her audience. The entire thing where she's pretending to be human, honestly, I thought it was an NPC in a game. That's really what I was going with on this one. Oh, yeah.
Thanks. Why don't you come in for something to eat?
NPC in a horror game. Well done. I mean, I'm impressed what she did, but...
It was the same idea.
Yeah, that's exactly how I thought this would go. If there's not an SCP about her, you know, I already mentioned that. I think it fits. This is literally SCP fodder right here. God, I'm not sure if you can see it, but I actually have goosebumps because that actually scared me. I am a coward. That is a very low bar, but it managed to admittedly dig down to reach that bar.
Molly approaching the viewer with the same ominous tone, but now the videos
creepier.
had adopted the aesthetic and mechanical context of an old FMV point-and-click adventure. Something you could feel in...
Wait, what? I never had a computer powerful enough back then to play those games, so I never actually knew that was a thing.
FMV point-and-click adventure.
Oh, this is weird. I don't know anything about this style of game, so I didn't even realize this was a reference.
Something you could feel in every part of the video, from its garbled compressed audio to its juddery jumping frames, and particularly in the choices it now presented the player with, choices they'd have to navigate in an attempt to survive Molly. Choices that, just to be clear, were not real. This was still just a non-interactive video on TikTok,
And she's getting more and more digitized and less looking like a person the entire time. Admittedly, if they just had overlays at the end, it could become an actual video game. That's the weird part. In the same way that Markiplier in Space technically counts as a video game because you did actually have options based on the end card you clicked on. Does Markiplier in Space count as a fake video game because it's video content? Or a video game with extended cutscenes? I don't know how to look at this one, so I'm just going to move on, but I'm actually kind of curious to see if anyone in the comment has an idea.
And yeah, look at the difference this addition of mechanical context made. Molly's videos going from getting views in the hundreds of thousands to the tens of millions, despite the fact that the basic idea of these videos was the same.
I mean, it's probably because it's a way to engage with it that's both nostalgic and has a very distinct audience. TikTok's algorithm is really good about reaching the people who know what they want. Let's also be honest, though, that's starting at a mere few million views. It's not exactly nothing, though.
The addition of mechanical context meant they became something else, nudging the videos
it gives it an extra level of
suggesting this wider interactive experience that asks the viewer, what would you do? And while Molly...
Actually, if they ever create end cards, she basically just created her own perfect ecosystem to just loop her videos, and not just like the usual TikTok way, but in the actual just move to the next one within her own ecosystem. That actually is brilliant. Admittedly, she probably would do even better on YouTube if YouTube wouldn't be literally the absolute worst place to do that, because I don't think shorts do that. Damn.
Molly was not the first or only creator to do this. She stands as an example of the impact mechanical context can have, and if you want to see just how...
God damn the eyes, man. Does she edit them to make them big, or is she just naturally able to open them that wide? It's like, yeah, she's pretty, but also, fuck, man, it's like the sheer unblinking. She's really good at hyping it up. Also, it almost looks like she painted her lips a little wider than they were before to make it seem even more distorted.
Powerful this idea can be, we need to talk about the work of Hosi Backyard.
What?
Hosi Backyard is clearly a very talented artist.
Why do I have the distinct feeling I've seen this art style somewhere else? Blue Archive? I think I played that game for like a week after it came out. It really didn't click with me. The combat system wasn't that interesting. It wasn't bad, it just wasn't my thing. Oddly enough, the same reason I quit Nikkei. Yeah. That's why. I thought the shooting was boring. It's probably not the reason a lot of people started playing that game, and admittedly, it wasn't my reason starting, but I quit because the gameplay was boring.
The work is gorgeous, precisely technical, yet retaining an intense amount of expression and personality. However, what I think makes Hosi Backyard's work so powerful is how they use mechanical context.
A Madoka game, even as a concept, would probably, I think, was it? And those are rifles, so wait, what?
They recently created a series imagining Demon Slayer as a Souls-like, and what I think is so powerful about these images is the intense amount of consideration that's gone into not just what this game might look like, but how it might feel.
They have the 3D animation, but the cell shaded on here. That's actually, and then you have the spider webs. That's so cool.
As my patrons pointed out to me, what Hosi Backyard has done here is lifted the UI and gameplay of Sekiro
that's where it's from?
And fused those mechanics with the story and world of Demon Slayer, blending the two into a fake video game so sumptuous and convincing. Everything from the tasteful way the camera is positioned behind the player to frame the action to...
Legitimately, if someone told me this was Okami-styled art in an actual game to basically make the shading easier, I would completely believe this right now. Hell, if the people, I think it's Sunrise that did Demon Slayer, if whatever company did this doesn't look at this and go, I smell profit. They are doing themselves a disservice. This is proof of concept right here, man.
How your lock-on reticule will flash red to indicate critical hits, to even the fake PlayStation trophies that pop on the demon execution screen. It all combines into not just images that look cool, but feel like something you could reach out and play. And the result is these images going bananas viral. Hosi Backyard creating several other projects like this, including a fake video game on the Magica spin-off series Magica Record, transforming that show slash gashapon nightmare into a non-existent video game.
Gachapon Nightmare? I think I've heard of Record. I don't know anything about it, though.
By fusing it with the mechanical context of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And as someone who was not into
I'll be completely honest, if they did a Breath of the Wild version of Madoka, that would be kind of amazing, actually. If it's handled with the same visual fidelity as this. Why isn't that a thing? Because they win the Gachapon round, huh? That would probably do it.
Record. God, I want to play this game. I can't help picking over every little detail in order to understand what it might feel like, but to me, the most powerful and immersive project Hoshi...
If there's not an option to kick QB, I wouldn't be surprised, but I'd be a little disappointed.
Hosi Backyard has made isn't based off any existing property, but their own original world.
What? Oh.
Unlike Hosi Backyard's...
So literally the only thing they would really need to change to make it their own thing would just be to take out the QB references. Yeah, that'd work. And probably the characters that are recognizable.
Other work, Lost Property Control Organization isn't based on an existing IP and doesn't use the UI of any actual video game.
Lost Property Control Organization? This is a joke about SCP. It feels like it. I mean, LCO. It has the... Well, LPCO. Lipco? Yeah, it'd be Lipco.
Instead, this is a built from zero fake video game, and because of that, the experience Hosi Backyard is able to craft is completely unique. One of the most enjoyable aspects of consuming fake video games is looking at screenshots.
I would have sworn I've seen this art style in a game. I legitimately would have sworn I've seen this. I do not know where, but it looks so familiar.
And piecing together the...
Helltaker, that's it. That's what it reminds me of.
Kind of experience they might be with a skillful artist able to suggest so much
rabbit
just
none with
mechanical
guns.
Context, even in a single image. But we can tell that combat is a part of this game. The protagonist has a gun, what looks like multiple weapon slots, as well as a health bar and possible stamina / mana bar.
And some kind of
it doesn't seem to be the main focus. Instead, the camera's position is tight on the player, much like the secondary camera angles used in stealth games like Metal Gear Solid 2.
So you can fight, but you probably shouldn't.
View of your enemies than your immediate surroundings. And that, combined with the protagonist's pose, crouching behind a wall, as well as the enemy design itself, ghostly security guards shining flashlights in search of the player, combined with the vision cones of the enemies shown in the mini-map, as well as the audio waveform monitor that could be used to gauge the noise from the surrounding environment, or own heartbeat, or
just like
possibly
a really cool
Silent Hill-style monster static. Either way, it all suggests an experience where stealth is preferable over direct combat, where slow, careful movement through the environment as you take notice of your surroundings is critical.
Legitimately, why are these people not hired as actual game devs? Unironically, just going to them and buying the rights to some of these ideas, especially the ones that don't have other properties to draw from, so there wouldn't be any copyright issues. Give them credit and go full on. I was going to say Konami and then reference Kojima, but that's probably not the best example. But I'm going to use it anyways because I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. But go on full Kojima on this one. Say, from the mind of this person, here is this game inspired by their design philosophy. This is... It's textured. It's not too detailed, so it probably wouldn't be so hard to render. You could probably get around on this on a mobile platform because it doesn't look too intense. Again, when you simplify the renders, then it makes the game so much easier to compress. And considering how big some games get, if it's just a simple map where you're mostly just dealing with a handful of enemies moving through it, this would not be impossible to do on a mobile format. You know, considering how AI is progressing, it might be possible to just take these and generate a game based on that. Someday just adjust it down with competent people who actually know what they're doing, with the AI basically generating the absolute chaff work that would just be essentially standard design. I hate everything I just said. I really do. Yeah. Don't ever look up some of the videos about the people working on AI and what they believe it'll be capable of. It's depressing. I did, and now I'm internalizing that, and I hate everything about this.
Objective checkbox, as well as what looks like a Navi-esque assistant, suggesting that the player is not necessarily the victim caught up in some supernatural ordeal here, but rather on a mission here.
Oh yeah, they actually have a loot box strapped to their back. I mean, that'd be one hell of a loot mechanic. Open your own backpack.
To achieve a specific purpose. Now that is already an incredible amount of information to convey from one single screenshot, but possibly most curious is the presence of a 24-hour clock that implies a day and night cycle, and suggesting that there could be way more to this game. And when I...
This is so freaking cool, man. This is... Am I the only one watching this video and their entire thought process, I can't wait to play this? Because I am doing that right now so freaking hard, man. It just... Oops. Not sure if that came on the screen, but oops. I clicked something I shouldn't have.
I say could, what I really mean is. I wanted to make the point of how immersive just a single screenshot of Lost Property can be.
Cool.
But the truth is, Lost Property Control Organization exists across dozens of different images.
Oh, that's so freaking cool, man. Oh, you even have the screen here. If someone doesn't reach out to them and say, hey, we want to take this idea you got, credit you as the designer, and make it a game because you've kind of done the design work already. We just have to fill in the blanks. I mean, it would be a lot of blanks, but dear God, man, you basically have the storyboard going down.
Each one adding a little piece to what the experience of this game might be like. There being portions of the game where you socialize with classmates, as well as spend time with members of some kind of shadowy organization.
Oh my God, this reminds me of Persona 3, but with way more agency. Or, well, agencies, considering this guy with the badge.
There are dialogue options,
like
classroom scenes,
Halo?
a level up screen, melee combat, crafting menus, boss battles. And when we combine them all together, we get a startlingly clear picture of what Lost Property Control Organization.
And even seeing the little drone either being carted away or being found for the first time. Oh, this is like the SCP game I've wanted, not just the really cheap scare ones, but something super detailed and intricate, and I want this, damn it. I think I have found how this video is hurting me, like all his other videos that aren't wrestling do. Except this one is just making something so cool that I want it to be real. I don't think I could ever become part of this fandom because it would just hurt me too much on a physical and emotional level. Because this is so neat. If you told me these screenshots from a development game, I would be fine with that. Look at this. There's so much storytelling. There's so much interaction. It has the best of some of the Persona games in there, but the dark and grittiness of some of the really fucked up games. And I'm thinking Nier Automata on that one. Ah.
Would be a survival horror RPG with a Persona-esque day and night system where you spend your days building bonds with other characters, making narrative choices, leveling up your stats and preparing your equipment before traveling to the Lost Property Control Organization in the evening, where you'll be briefed on that night's missions. Missions where you venture into haunted locations, stealthing past its enemies, as well as experience.
I'm pretty sure the last one's Siren Head from another game, so that's probably one of the few things they couldn't actually use. But I don't care. Look at... How old is this? It's only a month old. In the month since this has come out, I'm just going to check the comments. Anyone say these became real games? Last 20 minutes? Too young to... no one in the comments said anything about these becoming real since then. If in the future, after this video's been out for a while, and someone happens to find out these games, specifically this one, became real, let me know. I'm easily scared, but when you have really silly, chibi RPG elements, but really creepy content, I somehow love it. I shouldn't. I hate horror because I am a coward. but I love horror when combined with non-horror elements, like a cutesy romance with absolute blood-curdling murder. I love that. I don't know why. I am weird. I just like horror as an element added in rather than just horror itself. Give me a horror movie, I will tell you my bank code and how much money is in there. It's usually none. And I would just do that to avoid having to deal with it. But give me a movie about a plucky protagonist thrown into a world where they have no idea what's going on, but they can fight through it. But also, it's going to make you want to shit your pants in terror as a way to escape the movie theater. And I'll be like, oh, cool. Can I go now? And I'm not sure if I would mean either to the bathroom, because that would be disgusting, or to go see the movie, because that would be awesome. I'm weird. Oh, God, this looks so cool.
Set pieces with the objective of tracking down the area's boss monster, whom you must defeat, collect the haunted relic that spawned it, which is what I'm guessing the giant backpack is for, before escaping that area with supernatural forces pursuing you, some of which may even follow you back out into the daylight sections. And goddamn, that all sounds so fucking awesome.
And it would make it a really cool little event if the first time it follows you out and it'd be like you're not expecting it, suddenly the inclusion of horror when you're not expecting it all would be a massive scare. Especially if they had elements in there where it's scripted to have other people react as if you're crazy and you know you have to die if you don't react. Or even having the death animation and then having to replay it.
Despite the fact that Lost Property Control Organization exists as basically just a collection of PNGs on Twitter, they combine to create an illusion so believable and compelling.
This is the perfect RPG Persona SCP.
A fake video game that people are themselves building onto. They're existing not only
How long before this is actually in SCP? Because if fans are already getting involved, someone probably has gone into the SCP Foundation wiki and done that.
Lost Property fan art, but even fan interpretations of what its menu music might sound like, as well as animations of what its different scenes might look like in motion. That is how an immersive experience Hosi Backyard has created here.
At this point, it's just a matter of time until someone who's an amateur game designer just happens to build a framework other people... This is something I'm not aware of because I don't do game design. But is it possible to open up a essentially free-form open source software for a game in the same way you would add to the content like in the SCP Foundation wiki? And just be able to do, hey, here is the mission. I've written out the script. Can someone do the animation for this? Or maybe someone just donated the animation. They just put the script... It almost feels like this as an open source project might actually be a possibility because people are already doing it. You just got to put it together. That would be fascinating. But
that is the power of mechanical context.
Dude.
Despite everything we've raved about with LPCO, there is a deeper layer to how it uses mechanical context. A strange detail about these screenshots is that despite how skilled Hosi Backyard is, there is in them a strange brokenness. A lot of the backgrounds, and particularly on closer inspection, feel scraped together from compressed textures and saw-edged polygons.
I thought that was actually a gaming technique they put on purpose, but maybe this means something else.
Moments where a spill of flashlight will cause the environmental detail to crush into a raterized mess of jagged pixels. The blood on the game over screen in particular looking like some lost relic of the PS1 era.
Again, I thought that was the intentional. It was based around what you would more or less get from, what is it? Yeah, actually Persona 3 is essentially what I'm going for. Although even that would have been a little more advanced than PS1.
So what is happening here? Is Hosi Backyard actually just some kind of hack? Well, obviously the answer is yes. Obviously the answer is no. But I think what's happening here is really...
I mean, he's hacking it together pretty well, but I don't think that's what he meant.
Interesting. As a medium, video games are unique in that they've only been around a relatively short period of time, and in that time what they are and how they're conveyed has evolved dramatically. If you look at a film from 25 years ago and compare it to a modern film of the same genre, there are going to be differences, but it's...
Okay, I actually haven't seen John Wick, so I might try to ignore the scenes. I need to see them still. I'm only behind by all 4 movies.
Mostly in the details, the fashion, the fidelity of the cameras they're shot on. Smaller nuances like film grain or color grade. However, compared to video games of the same series across that...
I've actually played this one with Link with pink hair. Was that Link to the Past? Oh shit, it was.
same time frame, and you might as well be looking at two completely different mediums.
I mean, they
That's
are.
because unlike pre-rendered animated films, video games have always had to generate their visuals in real time on real hardware, forcing developers to make major visual compromises in how they convey their worlds. And the result of those compromises is the aesthetic of video games.
I am purposely not using HD footage here to better reflect what these games were at the time. I'm not making a bad video. You're bad at making videos. You're probably not. I am sorry. Don't worry. I know I am.
From the stylized pixel art of the Super Nintendo era
What
to
is-
the low poly landscapes of the PS1 and Nintendo 64 to
played that one
even
either.
these shiny
Wait, what did that say? Even if the harsh winds were to take you away. Oh, it's probably part of the game dialogue.
shiny sophistifutures of the PS2/3 and 360.
I mean, give the PS2 credit. It was still a good system now. I mean, there's a reason those systems, even though they've gone down in price, are still more than $100 to buy a PS2. There's just a lot of really good games for it still.
era. These aesthetics are all in different ways compromises
Oh god, I love this aesthetic. 90s anime style sci-fi, but done into a video game format. Oh, if there's something I really love, it's this.
born from limitation. And the reason those same aesthetics never appeared in other
Oh.
mediums is because other mediums never face those same limitations, even the earliest computer animated.
Technically, that's not entire. Well, I was going to say true, but accurate. There is that entire process when it comes to art. People did change how they were able to draw over a long course of history. It didn't immediately go to the Renaissance super hyper realistic. It went through a lot of phases how they changed what they were capable of doing, because there's a reason art did evolve from cave paintings, which were symbolistic more than anything else, to something that looked like the Renaissance, and even after and before that, where it was more, well, let's put it this way. There's a reason some paintings from the Dark Ages or Middle Ages, which is more polite, I guess, don't do perspective well, or understand that a lion isn't just a dog with fluffy hair. I'm specifically referencing a painting hanging in the Oakland Museum of Art because I saw it a lot when I was a guard there. And it looks rough, but cool. And it's interesting. But this did actually happen in the medium of painting, because realism was something that was worked up to. And a long time, people didn't advance art because they liked the style. And the people who were buying it liked that style. So they never advanced because the people who were buying it liked that style. It's different now because you can have so many more buyers. And even then, people just have the ability to make art that don't get bought. It sucks, but it's a thing.
films. There's a quote I really love from the artist and composer Brian Eno. Whatever you find weird, ugly, uncomfortable, and nasty about a new medium will surely become its signature. CD distortion, the jitteriness of digital video, the crap sound of 8-bit, all of these will be cherished and emulated as soon as they can be avoided.
It's basically the found footage thing where you have the shaky cam. It's no longer because you can't balance the camera. It's a stylistic choice.
That is what's happening in the background of Hosi Backyard's work. Not a mistake, but a conscious effort, not only to call back to the
Emulate something.
aesthetic of old video games, but to create the illusion that this is a world struggling to exist within the hardware of some fictional console. And not
Oddly enough, if they made this as a mobile game with point and click style or just drag motions, this would probably be easily handled within current hardware, not even making it a very large game.
only
At
does
least
it
download-wise.
immensely up the immersive quality of Lost Property, it shows us something really cool that fake video games can do. Use mechanical context on this deeper, subtler level, emulating
so
the feeling of
much.
these hyper-specific
I want
eras of
this.
gaming, and particularly in a fake video game like Ghostbleed.
And this is where I'm going to cut this one, not just because I have a live stream in like 5 minutes I need to go to and I almost forgot to start that, but also because I think this is a good place to cut off, because we're moving to a different game where most of this video has been focused on Lakpa. It's probably not what it's called in the fandom, but I like stupid acronym. Yeah, anachronism sounds right. I just want this. Someone tell me someone out there is doing a Kickstarter to fund a creation of this game, or they've gone to some small niche studio who wouldn't be killed by Sony or Microsoft, more or less killed by Microsoft more than anything else, and has pitched this as an idea because I want this. This looks so cool. Someone in the comments lie to me and tell me this is going to be a real game because I want this. Like, I'm not even joking. I'm not even lying. This is not a bit for, I mean, I do this frequently, not saying a bit, but I want this. It is so neat and cool. And I can't read Japanese or Chinese. I think it was Japanese. So I have no idea how to read any of the language, but the art design, the direction, and the creativity, it's like a Persona 3 that I don't know the ending of, which for someone who hasn't played Persona 3, it's like, well, just play another Persona game. And yeah, I could. But my first Persona experience was 3, and it was dark and gritty, but had cool social elements. It's everything this showed. But I don't know the ending anymore. And that's just like, hey, it's like something I love, but just different enough. And, you know, cute girls. So it's awesome. And it's like cutesy horror. It's like the reverse of Lucky Star. And it would be freaking cool, man. Because it's like Moe Blob. Death. Yes! I'm getting way too into this. But I think it's justified because the creativity shown, the interest in the medium, the replicating an old format to show the limits of what it would be on in the time, but just the incredible passion of people even making music for it, animated segments, designing their own UI features based on what's already been shown and making more content, even side characters. I really want there to be a comment on this video someday that says, hey, by the way, Airier, they have it in pre-production because they finally reached some kind of random threshold on a Kickstarter or something. And also, Kickstarter's not over. Get in now. I would do that. I would probably have made bad decisions because most likely Dingo Doodles would have put out another random project that I've put more money into than I should, and I don't regret it because it was still awesome. But I would do that if I didn't see a Dingo video right before that. It's a problem. It's often enough that I can actually predict it in the future happening again. But I would love to hear if that happened. So if it did, thank you in advance. And if it didn't, I'm just going to pretend it'll happen later and be really happy if it does. You guys know the deal. Link below original video. Hit it up. And I'll see you in the next one. Adios.